Hi everyone, and welcome to today's lesson on the functionist view of education part 2. Last lesson we looked at the work of Durkheim and his two main functions of education, being social solidarity and the teaching of special skills. What we're going to look at today is the work of Parsons and the work of Davis and Moore, and their two views on the functions of education. So function number 3 comes from the work of a guy called Talcott Parsons. Again, he was a functionist, so he thinks education is an important institution, it has important jobs to do, and it helps to keep society running smoothly. And the function that Parsons believed the education system performed that was most important was the function of secondary socialisation. So remember, socialisation is teaching norms and values. Primary socialisation happens in the family, secondary socialisation happens outside of the family. And Parsons argued that for many people, the education system forms an important part of their secondary socialisation, kind of like the biggest influence on them after their parents. So he said it builds on the norms and values that are taught by the family, and then it extends them. And we'll have a look at his view. Pause here, make sure you've got that down, and then when you're ready, move on. So Parsons argued that the education system acts as a bridge. It takes people from being able to exist within their family. So if you imagine most 4-year-olds only really know their immediate family and close friends as an influence over them. And he said that the education system takes them on a journey to wider society. So education is that bridge, it's that link to getting people to be able to function not just within their family, but also within wider society. And he categorized the differences in a couple of different ways. So he said the first thing that we need to understand is that within the family, we have these things called particularistic values, a really complicated way of saying that your family does things the way that your family likes to do them. So your family has its own values and its own norms and its own ways of doing things. And until you compare to other people, you don't know any different. That you are brought up to exist only within your family. He compared that to wider society, and he said that when we're joining wider society, we have to get used to the idea of universalistic values. Essentially, that there are some values that everybody has to follow. So it's not just about the particular ones that your family has, but you have to learn to get along with other people. You have to learn to be able to exist and share norms and values with wider society in order for everyone to get along. And Parsons argued that it's the education system that does this. It teaches us how to get along with other people and follow the values of wider society. Parsons also looked at status, and he said, and we've done status before, so we know this. So Parsons said that when you're within your family, you have ascribed status. You have a place that you are born into. Now that might be because your family is a particular social class or your family is of a particular ethnicity, but also within your family, you will have a particular status. Maybe you're the eldest child. Maybe you're the youngest child. Maybe that comes with a certain amount of expectation upon you. Maybe you're a boy and your sibling is a girl and you both have a different status within your family. Okay, so Parsons said that within the family we have ascribed status. We know our place in the world and we know our place in our family and how we fit with that. But in wider society, we have achieved status. So Parsons said that we have to learn to stand on our own 2 feet. People in wider society, when you get to school and wider society, don't care if you're the eldest child. And that's not going to mean that they're going to give you a job or going to give you any kind of special position. And what you have to do is you have to learn through the education system to stand on your own 2 feet and achieve for yourself. So that's through things like qualifications, doing your work, building up good relationships. You learn to step away from the influence of your family to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. But within the education system, that's in a really sort of safe environment. And Parsons argued, something we'll look at on the next slide, is that this is a meritocratic process. So it's all based on individual people's abilities, and everybody has the freedom and the ability to achieve if they put the work in. So Parsons argued that this was essentially a really equal process, that this was a really good thing, that it shouldn't be what family you come from that gets you your place in society, or whether you're the eldest child or what social class you are. He said we should all be given the opportunity to achieve based on our own abilities. What I want you to do is pause here for a second and complete this task. So I want you to think about how schools teach us to follow our norms and values. So it's through sanctions, and we've looked at sanctions before, positive and negative ones. So the positive and negative sanctions we have in school is our behaviour policy. So what I want you to do is really quickly come up with your own behaviour policy. If you were in charge of deciding the rewards and punishments for schools, what would you come up with? So can you do A, 3 rewards you would use to give to students when they follow the rules? B, 3 punishments you would use when students don't follow the rules? And C, a sentence also explaining to me which do you think is most effective in getting children to behave? Is it rewards or is it punishments? And tell me why. So pause and complete that task. So both Parsons and Durkheim, who we looked at last lesson, believed that schools were mini societies, and that's how they teach children how to function in the big wide world. They take those things that we have in wider society, put them into a miniature safe form within the education system, and allow children to learn how to function and behave within the big wide world. And it's important for Durkheim and Parsons, because they're functionists, that in order to do this, everybody must be judged on their own achievements. And because they're functionists, Parsons and Durkheim don't see any conflict in society. They don't see any problem. And therefore, they argue that the education system is a meritocracy. It's meritocratic. You are judged on your own merits, on your own abilities. And Parsons and Durkheim argue that there is equality of opportunity, that your effort and your ability means you can succeed. And if you don't put in enough effort, or you're not particularly able, then you won't succeed. But that's fine with them, because there's no conflict. That's just the way society needs to function. So meritocracy is a really important idea for functionists. Make sure you've got a note of what meritocracy is. Function number 4 then comes from the work of 2 guys called Davis and Moore. And they believed that the most important function of education, and it links to the work of Parsons and Durkheim, is to sift and sort people into the correct jobs. And they called this role allocation. So your role is the job that you perform, the function that you have, what you do. And they say that through school, people are allocated their roles and places in society. Because they believe there's equality of opportunity, and because they believe there's meritocracy, Davis and Moore argue that everyone has the chance to succeed. And what we need in society are the best people doing the most important jobs. And what education does, through giving people qualifications, is it sifts and it sorts us. So it's not a sorting hat like Harry Potter. The sifting and sorting comes through getting qualifications. That they argue it's really simple. If you want to succeed, you need to get your qualifications, you need to work hard. Everyone's capable of doing it if they put the effort in, and if you get those qualifications, you deserve the best jobs in society. Now, obviously, this is massively contested by other sociologists like feminists and Marxists, who argue that society is not meritocratic, that certain things give people a boost or a leg up the ladder, that they get sort of more privileges. But this is what many functionists believe, that hard work is rewarded through good qualifications and therefore better jobs and better pay. Okay, to finish then, what I'd like you to do is firstly make sure that you've got notes on all 4 functions of the education system. If you need to go back to last lesson and check your knowledge on social solidarity, specialist skills, you've got a chance to do that. And then what I'd like you to do really simply is to come up with a little diagram or a sketch or a code of symbols to show me the 4 functions of the education system according to Functionists. Now they all start with an S, so you might want to incorporate that into your design to help you to remember. So when you get a question on the Functionist view of education, you should automatically be thinking, right, 4 S's, and trying to commit those to memory. One way you can help yourself to remember is to draw yourself a little diagram or a picture. So you've got social solidarity, specialist skills, secondary socialisation, and sifting and sorting.